Do not attempt to adjust your monitor or sound settings. Do not attempt to shut your computer down. This is not a test. We are controlling the transmission. You are currently listening to the greatest retro game podcast on the internet. There is no escape. Sit back, relax, and allow our critique of retro video games to fill your ears and consume your mind. We are the Red Leaf Retrocast. Resistance is futile.
Alrighty, episode 42 of the Red Leaf Retrocast is live. I'm your host, JD, joined here with Colin. Finally, we're recording this thing.
Hey.
Yes.
Push back.
Yeah, it was pushed. It was pushed back a few days, almost a week from recording, but luckily got the turnaround up quick enough. Yeah, I was busy. My little brother got married over in California.
Cool. Fun?
It was okay. Got to see all 8 members of the family. A little awkward when the entire other family has about 45 to 60 people in their immediate family, and then the photographers and everyone's like, so is everyone here? Yeah. Oh, so not a lot of people could come? No, everybody could come.
Man.
Well, literally everybody. Yeah, it was a good time. Got to watch. I almost missed both my flight going there, and I almost missed my flight coming back.
Oh man,
very close. Both times the doors were closing, and I was the last one on the plane.
Geez.
It was very stressful.
I bet.
And then we had probably the worst Ramada Inn stay ever. That hotel was a piece of crap.
Oh yeah.
It was really bad. The first floor had a bunch of cockroaches, and because it was Easter weekend, you couldn't book a hotel anywhere else. They're all pretty much filled. Yeah. So first floor had like cockroaches. The management, wouldn't clean rooms. There were no towels in the entire hotel. Pretty much, they had a shortage. The restaurant was under construction. The bar would close at 9 p.m. They told us the pool was closed, and that was a lie. It was actually not. But there's no lawn chairs or anything outside, so it's not as if you could sit down anywhere anyways.
Oh jeez.
It was a clusterfuck of a situation, but regardless, little brother got married. He's off to Hawaii, making me super jealous.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah, so that's the situation on my end. Got back to work, super tired, getting used to the readjusting to the time change, and then waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning is really is much tougher than it sounds. Adjusting from even 3 hours, you know.
Yeah, bet.
Yeah. Not to mention my flight coming back was also delayed in Seattle 3 hours, so I didn't get home until about 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, I could go to work in 2 hours. Or I could not do that and be at least somewhat sane the next day.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, how about you? How have you been, Colin? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been fairly uneventful. I mean, the big work rush has finally calmed back down. Readjusted to the time zone here from Japan already.
Alrighty.
Aside from that, the only big thing is that I've started a new game and a new anime. So.
Ooh. Okay. Give me the anime first.
The anime is the Danganronpa 3 in preparation of playing Danganronpa V3.
Ah.
Yeah, it's tying up all the loose ends of the original 2 games, plus Ultra Despair Girls, I think.
Yeah, probably. I've never seen the anime. Maybe I should, since I've played the first 2 games.
I have? Nice. How'd you like those?
No, I've only played the first one.
Oh.
I think.
Well, definitely play the second one.
Yeah, I have
watching
the second one for my Vita, so yeah. I gotta get on that. Too many games to play. I
hear you.
I've been full podcast video game only right now. I haven't played Sekiro in 2 weeks. Maybe it's for the best for my blood pressure.
Yeah, I guess.
If I didn't have blood pressure issues going into Sekiro, I think just playing that game has made me develop those issues. we'll get what. And before I ask you what game that you started, we have some fun topics that includes a revisit to Sekiro's difficulty, and then a couple fun things that I found posted around, and our theme, which we should, Jesus Christ, mention. The guy who couldn't be here is Kevin. Because of the schedule change and when we were all available. Kevin's theme is first-person view games, not to be confused with first-person shooters. So these are all games that you play in the first-person view, which I thought was a very interesting theme. So and all the games involved, actually.
Sure.
Yeah. Very, very unique. And so with that, Colin, what game did you play?
Sekiro and more Sonic Mania. I started playing Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky on a recommendation from a friend.
Yes, I think that's been on my PSP wanted list for a number of years.
Yeah. Well, you can download it onto your Vita.
Not the same thing, Colin. I want that shitty UMD disc in my PSP right now.
You can also get the Windows version from Good Old Games.
That's lame. I don't want to do that. I want to have the physical media. Upgrade, it is not a UMD disc. I want the universal media disc that's only universal to the PSP.
Oh, man.
Well, how is that game? I'm curious about it.
It's really fun. It's a lot of your turn-based RPG type stuff, but it was made by the creator of the Ease series, which is already a selling point.
Oh.
And so far I've played about 4 or 5 hours, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm going to be in it for the long haul with this one. It's from what I've heard, got a really good story and really good characters. Plus, the gameplay is pretty fun. Just the level up system is very exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. It's funny. I tried to play the Windows version with a special program that could put it onto my Mac, but when I tried to play it after that, I was getting a lot of screen distortion because I guess my computer is too old. So I just broke down and got the Vita version, or rather the PSP version on my Vita. So
okay,
I'm really enjoying it. I haven't even gotten a prologue just yet, but I can already tell.
Oh wow, one of those.
Quite an epic journey. It's kind of giving me Lunar the Silver Star flashback, just with the way it starts.
Oh, okay. I feel you. Maybe some Phantasy Star elements in there. Well, it's made by the Ease people, so kind of expect that. Yeah. Long. I don't generally like long prologues in video games, because then you don't get into the groove. The groove is you played the prologue, and then you kind of have to do a hard reset of the game as soon as you get past that. Even RPGs. I'll give you an example of a game that did a prologue well and pretty quick, and that was Ni no Kuni 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care. Like, Ni no Kuni 2 was fine. It wasn't nearly as good or interesting as the first game, although it did improve upon a lot of issues I had with the first game. Ni no Kuni 2's prologue was basically just that first like 30 minutes to an hour, and then it sets up the story, which is what a prologue should do. A game that goes like fudges around for 3+ hours of a prologue takes me out of it. It really does, because then I feel like I ended the game before it even started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the prologue's already hooked me. I mean, nothing particularly epic has happened just yet, but it's really getting into the world and the characters, because the whole setup is that our two main characters they are what are called bracers, who are basically like mercenaries that are part of a guild that go around exterminating monsters and such. And you're basically playing through like the first few missions that get thrown your way, and then it seems to be building up to something.
Okay. Well, I did get to play a Vita game, a few of my Vita games, just on the plane in between going to and from California. I was playing this. Actually, I forget the name, and I should have written it down in my agenda. Bear with me here. It was a horror. It was like this cutesy little Japanese horror game that I was watching Game Grumps play a little while ago. I was like, oh, this game is really interesting. I want to play it for myself. It is called Yoamari Night Alone.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It starts off pretty wild. You're this little girl, and she's walking her dog, and it gets smashed by a truck and dies.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that clip.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. And then you go home, and your sister goes out at night, but she doesn't really come back. So you go throughout this little Japanese town, and there's apparitions trying to kill you. As you're trying to find a key and various other items to find your sister. And it's really interesting how such a simplistic, cutesy art style of a game does give you the heebie-jeebies throughout it. I've really enjoyed my time with it. And it's very it's only about it cost me about $12, 15.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know a Switch version came out with this one and the sequel in a package for $25-$30.
Oh yeah.
Something along those lines. So I recommend it, actually. I'm glad. I think if the Game Grumps never played it, I wouldn't have played it, because I wouldn't have known about it.
Neat.
Yeah.
Of course, that seems to goes with a lot of YouTube Let's Play.
Well, for a lot of lesser known games, sure, yeah, because you can't play everything. But that's why we're here on this podcast playing games that we possibly have missed, right?
Yeah.
Over the decades.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I got to play a little bit of. But now it's podcast time, so I had to play what we're doing. Well, this episode might be a little short, but hey, better, because let's get into our topics. I get let's get into those topics right away.
Sounds good.
Hey, Zelda chest opening.
All right.
Yeah, hooray. All right, so our first topic is the revisit to difficulty in video games. Namely Sekiro.
Yeah.
And why do I bring this up? Well, because I did get a little further than our previous conversation. And I want to say I have changed my mind. Not fully, because I do stick by if you make improvements to the, just to revisit kind of our conversation for the listeners here. We talk about retro games such as Ninja Gaiden, where you have the continue mode, right? And then you have Ninja Gaiden 3, which took it all out. You have 3 lives. That makes a game just almost unplayable, right? Unless you're a god at it. You'll never beat it.
Yeah.
So, when we were talking about Sekiro, there is a certain way to play, and there's other, there's items you can use, what have you, to get you through. However, I did bring up there are limited items, or say the second form of bosses. You don't know where to get the item again once you run out, because you will die.
Uh-huh.
And maybe certain tactics that you're used to or got pretty good at in your style doesn't work on bosses. So you have to maybe play a different style. Like, I get all that.
Huh?
I really do. But you do hit a wall. And for the players that hit that wall, it finally clicked, because I did hit the wall in the game. I have hit the wall. And I just can't progress. I can't do it. So I got to thinking, this is to me the Ninja Gaiden 3 moment where, well, if I can't progress in the game because I'm not good enough, that kind of shuts off the rest of the game immediately. Like, Ninja Gaiden 3 mechanically is a good game. Sekiro mechanically is a good game. But if you can't play the rest of the game, is it truly great? So that's where this conversation of easier options or something easier put into the game for an easier mode, I have changed my mind. I'm an adult. I can do that. And I think there should be some sort of easier mode or option put into the game to get you over a wall. Take Bloodborne or Dark Souls. You brought this up, Colin, in the last cast. Bloodborne, Dark Souls, you can level up, right?
Yeah.
In Sekiro, your level up is just more techniques, but they don't necessarily help you in boss battles.
There are some upgrades to your health bar and your strength level. Because I hit a bit of a wall myself at one point, where there was like 3 different bosses to take on, and 3 different branching paths. For the longest time, I couldn't beat any of them, but it felt like one of them had a pattern to it that I could recognize and actually exploit. So I was finally able to beat that one, and then I was finally able to get enough prayer beads to increase my strength, which immensely against another boss.
So, what would you... Are you of the mind with me, or maybe you just haven't gotten far enough in the game yet?
I probably haven't gotten far enough in the game yet. It's just more like I just got over a hurdle, and then I just kind of blasted through a lot of the next parts of it. But I've just been too tired from after work for the past 5 days to get past the next hurdle, which is another boss fight, which takes place in a burning building.
Ah, that one.
Yeah, that's tricky, but I feel like with enough practice, I could actually do it. But it just tends to get me at inopportune times.
So, I actually proposed this idea via Twitter or various Discords communities that some sort of easier progression should be implemented. And I was immediately hit with the get good thing. But not the usual just joking. It was, well, then I guess this game's not for you because you're not good enough. And that argument really nullifies a lot of things to me. How do you... Like, let's say there was an easier mode, and this person who says get good as a legit argument, or at least tries to, because it's not a legit argument, it really isn't, gets angry, right, at this easier mode. Well, let's say there's plenty of other games out there with your difficulty modes, right? Easy, medium, hard, what have you. legendary mode after you beat the game, which I'll never ever get good enough in any game to do that. Well, no, the patience anyways for it. How come that doesn't bother when it's in those games? How come it doesn't bother that person? Right? Makes no sense.
I guess. But I guess they feel like the difficulty is part of the game's identity, and to them an easier difficulty to compromise that.
Well, I could see that argument, and I certainly do see that argument with the From Software games and titles. But in Sekiro, I really do feel that when that leveling option was taken away, that for a lower skilled player, you've now shut off an entire community and player base. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can't get the argument behind you're simply not good enough to play, so you shouldn't play this game, basically. Because every game should have some sort of mode where isn't the objective in games to have the most people try and play it and enjoy it?
It may depend on the audience you're trying to reach, because sometimes that mentality can be taken to a really bad extreme, like with EA, where they try to pander to literally everybody at once, and then it ends up just kind of creating a generic experience that nobody remembers.
Okay,
but if
yeah,
you're
right about that.
You do like Jim Sterling said about the perfect pasta sauces argument. Basically, there is no one perfect formula for a video game, only perfect ways of executing other formulas, like with horror games or puzzle games or action games. It's like this.
So I wonder. Here's something. I wonder if let's say you die like 30 times on a boss, and when something like that happens, it can trigger an option to make the game easier for you, right? More accessible. And let's say when you click that option, this is just something I'm thinking off the top of my head, now you can possibly grind and get more prayer beads and the like, right?
Yeah, maybe there could be
yeah, you can, because you can grind. I mean, there's plenty of areas where you can grind with the whole the stealth option and killing enemies, and
yeah, but you're mainly grinding for items and cash.
Exactly. You got your items in cache, and you can then go to one of the vendors that you find, which are cryptically hidden sometimes. I don't like that about the game. I'm like, I've only found 2 of these guys. There's got to be more. Look it up online. I've missed like 4 of them. I'm like, shit. Because they're hidden. I'm like, why is the store hidden?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very strange. And in the Bloodborne and Dark Souls games, they're just everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
Or they're in they're in your hub world. Makes sense to me. But anyways, yeah, you can then it could unlock certain things in the game via you're just dying constantly, and the options there. And if you're persistent enough, I mean, you don't have to accept the option, right?
Yeah.
There you go. That was just something I was kind of mulling over because of that wall I've hit. And it's really, and maybe that's why I haven't played the game in a couple weeks. Maybe that's truly the reason.
Yeah, that tends to be what I do sometimes with games when I hit a bit of a difficulty wall. I put it down for a few weeks and then maybe go back to it later. I mean, that's what I did with the Celeste Seasides, and then I was able to eat 2 of them after that.
Well, Celeste is a great example of a difficult game, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to make the game even more difficult and fun, there's the strawberries you can get, which are absolutely insane sometimes for some of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that, like, Celeste is a great example of a hard game, but it's accessibly hard, right?
Yeah. Because you have the option to use the assist mode.
Yes, exactly. There are things put in the games to make it more accessible. It's and that's what Sekiro's missing. I think that's what's throwing a lot of people off. It's not that, and I think I'm sticking with my guns, Colin. That some enemies just have cheap ass moves for the sake of being cheap and make it harder for the sake of being hard.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, you'll get to a couple of those. I'm sure you already have, like Pike Dude at the start.
Yeah, that guy was an asshole.
Yeah.
Or the guy with the trident. That was the boss I had the most with.
Yeah. So
I remember one YouTuber saying that the game being so hard, it kind of drives in just the world that the game is set in. Like, it's a world full of despair, and that part of the despair of that world is where the difficulty comes from, and that you, the player, would feel a bit of despair yourself if you hit a wall and you're trying to.
I don't know. I don't feel the despair. I feel my blood pressure rising. I've felt despair before, and I don't feel that. But I get the motion of the setting and feel for sure, because any enemy can kill you. I mean, that From Software is very good at doing that.
Yeah. It's all about overcoming it is the name of the game.
Oh yeah. Now there was one section I came across which I ran past. It's the only one I've done that in the game so far. You'll come across to it. You're on a cliffside, and there are these troll-like dudes with fucking impervious hats, and they chuck fucking knives at you from all corners, and they block fucking constantly. I don't know why that certain enemy bothers me so much, but I hated that section. I ran past it, and you'll come across a knight on a bridge, which is a pretty cool section. I do like that. I do like that little fight. That was kind of the first and only fight I've come across in the game where there were different ways to attack this dude and different ways to kill him. I ended up killing him by pushing him off the bridge itself, which was awesome. I loved it. So, I still vastly enjoy Sekiro. I think it's one of the best games of the year. There's just so many issues and nitpicky things that take players out of it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
fair enough.
Yeah, it's the more I play it, there are awesome, memorable scenes and sequences. You hit the boss walls too often. I mentioned that on the Modern Gaming podcast as well, with Jay from the Smack It Down podcast. Go listen, guys. Yeah. So I want to get to the other topics, which are nice and fun. Okay. Ubisoft gave away Assassin's Creed Unity for free, because now cool. It's playable.
Yeah.
It's not a broken mess
anymore.
Yeah, anymore. So I waited long enough, and now the game's free.
Nice.
You get it via its Uplay store. I like the Uplay store. It's just a thing you download on your computer. I don't know why. I'll never understand this, Colin, why PC gamers have this issue with having all these downloadable gaming stores, because it's still on your PC at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess for them, they've got not a lot of other stuff to keep track of in their regular life. They don't want their hobby to be the same way.
I suppose. I mean, let's see here. I have Good Old Games, Uplay, Epic, and Steam. I think those are the four. Yeah, those are the four that I have. So yeah, the Notre Dame kind of burned down pretty much, big chunk of it, and so Ubisoft, which is out of France and Quebec, a lot of French in the Ubisoft gaming world, and they donated $500,000 for the restoration. So till April 25th. So by the time this goes up, it'll probably be too late. But Assassin's Creed Unity's free. I got it. I'm like, hey, whatever, free game. For a good cause too. Download it. I'm sure it has. Apparently, I was reading a French article that supposedly, because Assassin's Creed Unity was so detailed enough with Notre Dame itself in the game, that they're utilizing the models in the game to help in the effort of restoration.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much they're going to use of the modeling and what was used for the game into the restoration, but apparently it's detailed enough where there's merit in it, which I thought was very interesting.
That's pretty cool.
I think that shows how much detail goes into games these days.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. The whole restoration of Notre Dame kind of reminded me of when I was in Japan. Visit the Meiji Shrine in Tokyo, and our guide informed us that it wasn't the original Meiji Shrine, because the original had been burnt down in the 1930s by some rogue monk, and then it got rebuilt in the 40s.
Oh, those rogue monks. Oh, if I had a dime.
Oh, man.
All right. Let's see. Epic Games currently has Transistor up for free on the Epic Games Store until May 2nd. So, another free game for you. I've essentially built this whole library of just games I've gotten for free since January on the Epic Games launcher. It's crazy. Like, I haven't spent a dime on the store, but I have like 10 free games.
That's funny.
Yeah, at least 8, I think. Just every 2 weeks there's a free game. I'm like, yep, okay, mine, cool. they're all solid games too. All of them have been solid.
Yeah. I guess they're trying to make up for all the complaints of lack of features on it, because I remember seeing a bunch of YouTube videos telling how the storefront seems to be lacking a lot of features. It's been a couple weeks since I saw that video.
Yeah, there's no shopping cart.
That's what it was.
You always have to be online. There's no offline mode. Yeah, there's be dumb to say there isn't obvious improvements to be made. But anything that brings about competition to essentially a monopoly, I'm all for. And Epic Games does seem to have a lot of positivity over the negative to it all. Now there's recent news that they're overworking their employees in crunch time for certain things, but
not again.
Yeah, I mean, does it really surprise us that the gaming industry overworks people?
Yeah, but
I know, not a good look, especially after everything that's been coming out.
Yeah, with Anthem especially.
All right. Well, some positive things. Polygon, site I like visiting quite often, released the 30 best Game Boy games of all time list, which I thought was almost timely, since we just had our episode featured to specifically Game Boy games and the history of the Game Boy. I think that was back in episode 30, so not too long ago. I think that was October last year. So it's recent in the Red Leaf Retrocast history. So I put the link in the agenda, Colin, and I'm just gonna go through some of the games that stood out to me. Some games I've never heard of, such as like Trip World, Sunsoft, the Sword of Hope series, which I'm very interested in checking out now. That looked good. And as we go down the list, Space Invaders was number 21. 20 was Metroid 2, Return of Samus.
Ooh.
Is a little low.
Yeah.
Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. The true Castlevania 2, as far as I'm concerned. That's 18. Few more games I've never heard of. Bionic Commando made number 13. Yeah, Super Mario Land series got number 10. So I'm like, what the hell's gonna be in the rest? Mario's Picross, which is it says it's a crossword concept game. So the Picross series. I believe the number of Picross games came out on the Switch, so might have to check that out. Kirby's Dream Land, the whole series is number 8. I think that's a little low, personally. Yeah. Tetris got 6, which I think is high. I think they're on drugs. Link's Awakening 5, which hell yeah, right? The Wario Land series placed above it at 4. Pokemon at 3. Yeah, I think the Wario one being at 4 is a bit high. I think that's the first one we think is too high. Pokemon's only at 3. The Game Boy camera they put at 2.
Yeah, that seems high.
That's an accessory as far as I'm concerned. And they put Donkey Kong at number 1, which I think is... I don't think it's as controversial as I was seeing online, because I saw a lot of people posting that. Yeah, they thought it should be Super Mario Land or Pokemans or even Final Fantasy was coming up. The Zelda series. I like the Donkey Kong games. I really do. On the Game Boy. So we might have to revisit some Game Boy games based on this list here, because Kid Dracula I wanted to play for a little while. Definitely want to check out the Bionic Commando Game Boy version. Castlevania 2. So, what do you think of this list? Things too high, things too low, things omitted? I think Pocket Bomberman's omitted off this list, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of these I haven't heard of, like the Gargoyles Quest and Mole Mania. But, I don't know, I mean, I can't really think of any particular ones that...
Wait, we did play Bionic Commando on the Game Boy. Why was I thinking we played the NES version?
We played the sequel on the Game Boy Color.
Oh, Elite Forces, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, Colin. Oh my god. What am I thinking? What am I saying? So many games we played for this cast. I think we're over... I have a loose list of how many games we played for this podcast. At least 240 games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in total. Pretty crazy.
There's a lot of them not all the way through.
Well, I mean, there's only a finite amount of time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're an adult with responsibilities.
I have responsibilities. You were right, Colin. I'm glad you pointed that out.
As am I.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm glad they actually put series as opposed to individual games.
Yeah.
Not Game Boy Color games. They specified a difference between which I don't know. I think you can put Game Boy Color games in there because it's I associate them together. Game Boy Color. I really do.
Yeah. I can imagine, since the Color was your first Game Boy system.
Yeah, that's just me personally. It's not a bad list by any means, especially since there's a bunch I've never heard of. So maybe when we revisit Game Boy, we'll have to take away the color part. Just the grainy green and black kind of deal.
Yeah.
All right. So short topics today. Lots of fun. When we return, you would have heard a nice commercial from the Anime Radicals. So we'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Hey dude, you into anime, manga, and all that radical stuff? Then you should totally check out the Anime Radicals Network at www.animeradicals.com. If you want discussions, debates, reviews, and all in between, we also got timely reviews, revolutions, mecha, and much more. Find it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all podcast catchers. The Anime Radicals Network. The revolution will be simulcast.
Drop going. Hey, you enjoyed that commercial for the Anime Radicals? Nice little anime network. Go hit them up. We're a part of that. All right,
well, you are.
Yeah, I am. The anime guys are. Okay. All right. So wonderful. Still waiting on that retro Twitch commercial from over there in that community. So go hit them up. All right, cool. Colin. So we got first-person view games here. Games that are played in the first person. What a concept, right? This was Kevin's pick. Very, very unique, I will say.
Yeah. Yes, they're not limited to shooters.
Yeah.
Or rather, we're encouraged to pick stuff that aren't shooters.
Yes, exactly. We were encouraged to not pick first-person shooters, since especially since we've already had a retro theme on those games.
Yeah.
This got us to think outside the box, and I went way outside the box with mine. You had a couple picks, and then Kevin apparently had been thinking about this for quite some time. So
I guess so.
I'm not really into the first-person view games. I'm really a third-person kind of guy. I always like seeing a character on the screen. I do see the appeal of playing in the first person. It's just first person, but it's never been for me. And there's a lot of instances where people do get sick playing games in the first person because it's a whole screen kind of moving. Which is funny because I love my PlayStation VR so much.
Yeah.
Where you are in the game and you do get sick after a while.
Yeah,
you gotta play it in chunks.
Tried teaching my mom Portal a while back, and within 10 minutes she got sick.
Yeah. So what about you? What do you think of for first person view games? Is it your thing? Do you prefer it? Because let's face it, first person shooters are probably the most successful genre out there, next to sports titles in terms of financial success.
I tend to prefer more third-person games myself, but there's a lot of first-person shooters that I really enjoy, like Doom 2016 and the early Call of Duty Modern Warfare games, and GoldenEye and Time Splitters.
Time Splitters, that was on our last cast. Time travel. Go listen to.
Yeah, I think first-person games tend to be more immersive, but at the same time, they can be a little more frustrating because you can't see enemies behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so it's sometimes for like quote-unquote walking simulator games, it can get you a little deeper into the story. Like with Gone Home or Dear Esther or The Witness or Myst.
Firewatch comes to mind for me. Myst is a great one. I quite enjoy Myst. Have it on my 3DO. Haven't brought the 3DO up in some time.
Insert insult from Kevin.
Yeah, insert insult. 3DO sucks.
Gotta hold up the cardboard cutout and say it.
Yeah. Next month, Kevin and I are going to a wrestling show together.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. WWE Money in the Bank. He didn't have to pull my arm because I do love ladder matches, and I've never been to Money in the Bank before. Even though I hate the current WWE product and what their show they're putting out, I'll enjoy a ladder match live, and it'll be fun to go to a wrestling show with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that happening in Rhode Island or Connecticut?
Connecticut. So I'll have to drive to him. I'll be very tired on a Monday morning for work. Oh my god. That is going to be a trip of a day.
I bet.
Working. I hate the fact that it takes place on a Sunday night, and then I'm probably not going to get out of there until like midnight.
Oh, yeah.
Or some nonsense, and it'll take like another hour to get home, so I won't get home until 1, 2 in the morning, and then I'll have to get up at... you know what? I'll probably just not shower that day. I'll have everything prepared on like Friday for work, and on Monday be like, okay, I can sleep an extra hour and a half if I just prep everything right now rather than go through my morning routine. But anyways, games, video games, first person view.
We love our tangents on this cast.
Yeah. So what's your first game? We'll do Kevin's 2 last, since it was his theme. Make his special.
All right, my first game is The Mansion of Hidden Souls on Sega CD and Sega Saturn. It was developed by System Sacom, which is a Japanese electronics company that apparently made visual novel games. And it was published by Sega in Japan and Vic Tokai in the US. It was released on December 9th, 1993. Now, the plot of this one differs between the Sega CD and Sega Saturn versions. In the Sega CD version, one night, 2 siblings, Jonathan and Samantha, are exploring an empty field when Samantha sees a butterfly and chases it, with Jonathan trying to stop her. And apparently their grandmother warned them about ghosts in the area who turn people into butterflies. But Samantha follows the butterfly into a mansion and becomes trapped, and it's up to Jonathan, the player character, to find her and get her out before they're both trapped in it forever. So already the stakes are pretty high.
Right.
And the Sega Saturn version is much less interesting. You're just one of the ghosts in the mansion going around with one of the other ghosts to tell the rest of the residents that there's a red full moon out and that it could be trouble. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
This one's basically a first-person point-and-click adventure.
Yeah, more or less. I found articles conflicting of each other a lot, whether or not the Saturn version is a sequel or a remake.
Yeah, I'm thinking remake myself, but I can't be sure.
Yeah. There was one YouTube video that the whole argument that it's a sequel was because the Saturn version is the Mansion of Hidden Souls, and the Saturn version is Mansion of Hidden Souls. Okay, guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I picked this game because I remember it actually being on display to play at Blockbuster way back in the day when it was either Sega CD or Sega Saturn was the new thing, along with Sonic CD. And I played a bit of it while I was waiting for my mom to pick out a movie. But it
was probably the Sega CD version then.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to do anything. Although 2 things stuck out for me in my memory, because I remember trying to get inside a locked door, and then I remember that you suggested you were pushing against it, but nothing worked, because the door briefly comes closer to you, and then you jump back. I remember being on a high-up walkway and to the floor below, and there's like a tumbling musical strike when it happens, and somehow that just stuck in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that the reason I knew its title, because back in the day I didn't know the title of the game, but I was wandering around the dealer room at Anime North one time, and then I was looking at Sega CD games, and I noticed Mansion of Hidden Souls. I was like, that looked familiar.
Something light bulb went off.
Yeah, pretty much. Looked it up on my phone, and there it was.
So we've played games very similar to this on the podcast in the past. It was called D.
Yeah. Is that like a horror game?
Yes, it's a horror game, and this plays very similar, where you travel first person within a mansion, clicking the action button when you want to interact with items, right? Well, in this one, there's only 4 of them, so you're not really interacting with anything. You're just wandering the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Baron, you are much faster because of the whole point and click element to it all. But I never felt spooked. I never felt uneasy. I was just kind of wandering, and wasn't like, even though the stakes were high in the story, I never felt impelled. Held? No, not the right word. Compelled. Thank you. Jesus. My God, I'm more tired than I thought.
There are machines called impellers.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I do, work with impellers, so maybe I'm thinking of something else. Anyways, yeah. I felt like an impeller as I went about the mansion, going in circles over and over again, not knowing where to go.
Oh man.
I made my mistake work.
Nice. You don't be a good comedian yet.
I'll get through this. So the whole game's an FMV, full motion video game. I thought it looked pretty ass, especially compared to other games I've played in the same realm.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's very, very pixely, very blocky.
Yeah, I didn't like it so much. The box art, I gotta mention, is quite freaky because it's got the text in the little mansion, and there's just big ass child creepy eyes looking at you through the text.
Man.
Just, bah!
Staring into your soul.
Like an impeller in a tank going round and round. All right, I'll stop.
Looks like we got it. Looks like we got another running joke.
Yeah, right. Does this game make you turn around and round, and just that game loop is like an impeller? Well, this one I am afraid.
Photosynthesis.
It makes us grow as we play the game as a person. No, this game does none of that. I was very bored, didn't know what to do. I had to look up the manual online to get any sort of explanation to what anything is. So the tarot cards were a great example of. I was like, what the hell do these do? I'm collecting these tarot cards. I have them. It's just a picture. Oh, the manual says what they are and the significance of it. Oh, so it's one of, I wasn't sure to make that a negative, because in the day, especially in the NES titles, your manuals told you the story of the game. It gave you the setup.
Yeah.
But the Sega CD is supposed to have more information. Supposed to be more powerful. Everything's supposed to... I feel this was the era when this was all supposed to be there, presented. So I was very conflicted on whether it was a hard negative. Just thinking about the game. But even if I take that part out, I didn't like this game very much. I really didn't. It wasn't interactive enough at all.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's not very interesting. It's a very early example of a walking simulator.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. So
yeah, I gotta fail this one.
I have to fail the game otherwise known as Tale of the Dream Mansion because it put me to sleep. Go.
Got that going for it as a sleep aid.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to fall asleep on my couch with a controller in my hand.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, all right. What's the second game on this list here?
It is a much better game called Descent on PC and PlayStation. It was developed by Parallax Software and published by Interplay.
I played both versions of the game.
Yeah, me too.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I played the PC version as a kid and the PlayStation version as an adult. I actually bought it off Dragon Dude for $5.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, he was selling a bunch of games, and Descent was one of them. So I was like,
Cool.
gimme. Yeah, I wanted to suggest this one for the flight combat episode, but I felt like Ace Combat would be more appropriate.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and for the record, if you're interested in Mansion of Hidden Souls, the Sega CD version goes for about $20 and the Saturn version for $10. I recommend neither.
Too much.
All right, back to this game developed by Parallax Software.
Yeah, it was released on the MS-DOS in February 28th, 1995, and later on PlayStation in 1996. It was supposed to get released on Sega Saturn and Panasonic M2. I don't know if anybody bought that. Those versions got canceled.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And incidentally, a spiritual successor called Overload was released last on the PC and PS4. I'm curious to play it now that I know about it, since it was created by the designers of the original Descent games.
Yes.
It was a Kickstarter game, and it seems to have succeeded.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down. So in March 12th, before we get more into the game, March 12th, 2016, Matt Toshlog and Mike Kulas, designers of the original Descent game, successfully funded Overload on Kickstarter, describing it as a spiritual successor to the Descent series. The game was released for computer platforms on May 31st, 2018, so very recently.
Yeah.
And then on April 10th, 2015, a prequel of the same name titled Descent was successfully funded on Kickstarter, or raising over $600,000 through crowdfunding. The expected release date of the prequel is 2019 on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Did you say that came out recently?
Overload did.
Overload did, but not the new Descent.
Not the new Descent.
So I'm going to be keeping my eye out for that one later this year.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I definitely want to get Overload sometime before the end of the year, and then once Descent comes out, I'll get that one too, because I'm such a Descent whore.
All right,
yeah.
Published by Interplay Productions. I gotta say, I'm not familiar with Parallax Software as a development company.
Yeah, this is the only game off the top of my head that I remember they developed, but it's a very good game. Very memorable. I picked it because, well, as you heard, I played it a lot as a kid, loved the hell out of it, both me and my brother. Heck, my brother even wrote fan fiction of it for creative writing at school back in elementary. He even had illustrations for it. It was pretty funny. Yeah. Now, I consider this game to be similar to Half-Life in that it's a perfect example of a game that can scare you even when you're armed to the teeth. You never know if there's a killer robot around the corner, or if one will sneak up behind you, or is even invisible, which is scariest of all because you hear the sound the robot makes when it sees you, but you can't always find it anywhere unless you're really looking and you see that it's cloaked. And since you're in an enclosed area most of the time, there's always a claustrophobic feeling.
I definitely felt that claustrophobic feel. The best way I can describe this game is it's Doom, but with a ship.
Yeah. Yeah, you can move in all directions instead of just on a horizontal plane.
Yeah. I loved this game.
Hell yeah.
Loved it so much it was the intro theme music for this episode.
Oh yeah? Nice.
I really like, and just like Doom, there's a clear objective to find, destroy something, or kill the enemies. This in Descent, it's destroy each mine's reactor core and escape before the mine is destroyed via the meltdown that you cause. So has a very addictive game loop.
Yeah.
The gameplay is very smooth.
Yeah, and the whole escape the mine before it blows up thing reminds me a lot of Metroid.
Yeah, you're essentially. I would have liked a little variety in the level objectives, but this is a good example of of a game doing one thing very well.
Yeah. Just like that. Unlike other flight games, this game allows you to just sit still in midair. You can also move strafe side to side.
Very useful, by the way. Very happy that was in the game.
Oh yeah. I played both versions, but I prefer the DOS version just because it feels scarier and more thrilling, plus the nostalgic value. What did you think between the versions?
Well, the PC one looks better because it's not on the PlayStation. You know, they don't have to downgrade anything visually. But the controls felt very similar to each other. They're smooth, very reactive. I had no issue with going up and down, even without a flight stick. The game was very simple to control, which I really liked. I think if the controls weren't as smooth as they were, the game would not be as enjoyable. Yeah,
I can imagine.
So regardless, I think both versions were very solid. Obviously PC because it came out first and it was made for PC. That's the superior version. But if you're a console guy like myself and you're looking to expand your PlayStation collection, I think Descent is a must-have. I really do. This game is that good. It's that solid.
Yeah.
I've added it to my want list now.
Nice.
Yeah. So easy pass. I prefer this over Doom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Old Doom.
Any Doom,
I guess.
So yeah, any Doom. So let's say Doom, was it 2015? Doom 2015 or 2016?
2016.
I want to see Descent like that Doom.
Oh yeah.
Like you're a character and you're hopping in and out of different types of ships, going through level to level like a Doom level. 2016.
Take giant monsters as bosses.
Yeah,
That'd
exactly.
Cool.
I think like when I'm picturing this new Descent coming out, I'm picturing that right there.
Yeah. Well, it could come to pass. I mean, I played the shareware version growing up, and it has like 7 levels, but which is shorter than like the main campaign of the regular game. But that final boss is one scary motherfucker. He has the ability. He's like a giant freaking hulking thing. Has the ability to fade away and fade back in at another spot in the arena. Has some really powerful weapons, and that back and forth flashing green eye light it has, I found really menacing. I mean, I managed to beat it as a kid, but he left a major impression on me.
Yeah. This is a game I had no idea. I don't think I've even heard of this game before the podcast, which it's just one of those that slipped by me.
Yeah, sounds like Link's Awakening.
It does sound like Link's Awakening, but I was aware of Link's Awakening. Just never played it before. Same thing with Chrono Cross. Just never played it before the podcast. This one I'd never heard of before the podcast.
Well, I'm happy to have enlightened you.
Yeah, this was very enjoyable. Big surprise. Big surprise.
Yeah, I just want to quickly point out that I love the opening cutscene of this game because you're just like the pilot in a first-person view. This bureaucrat sitting across from you is giving you all the details while the player character just mentally snarks at him the whole time. I just love the dialogue. But yeah, easy pass from me too. I love it.
All right. Third game, which is one of my picks now. We're going way back in time.
I see that.
Yeah. So my first pick was Battlezone, the Atari 2600. And you can get Descent for about $6 to $8. It's really cheap.
Well worth your money.
Yeah. So Battlezone Atari 2600 goes for about $5, and many ports, including a PlayStation VR remake, which I also have.
Nice.
Fun game. Developed and published by Atari, no surprise there. Released 1983. The arcade version came out in 1980. This is a arcade port. So this is a first-person tank arcade game. The game uses wireframe vector graphics on a black and white with a green and red sectioned colored overlay. Everything's this vector line. Pretty sweet. So I love it's got very addicting gameplay, and I think my favorite thing in the game is this line reticle that turns white when you're over your target and the radar. Without those two things, this game would suck ass.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty advanced for the time.
Extremely advanced. And when I because I got curious then, because I played this on the Atari, and then I hooked up the VR, and I played it again. I played the VR version, and the gameplay loop is exactly the same. And the VR version also uses the little vector graphics, so everything spiritually is right there. I got the exact same experience, but this time I felt like I was physically in the tank rather than just watching a first-person view of a tank. It was quite a jaw-dropping experience, just from how much I was playing a game from 1980, essentially 1983. Now I'm playing a game in 2019 that came out a few years ago. That's a lot of time has passed, and the same game gives me that same feeling.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What did you think? And did you write down your high score?
I did, as a matter of fact. I was going to ask if you guys did.
Oh, okay, Colin. What was your high score as I pull up my little Evernote here?
26,000.
Asshole. All right, fine. I only got 22,000, but whatever. I'm still waiting from Gilo Retro Twitch to give me his Space Invaders high score, that dickhead. I refuse to tell him mine so he doesn't purposely try and beat it. Tell him afterwards.
Oh, man.
All right, well, Colin, you beat me on the Battlezone high score. 1,000 down. Know what I'm doing later. All right. So yeah, really addicting. What'd you think of the different enemies in this game?
It was pretty good. It's basically just the same two enemies, blue tanks, and occasionally you'll see a red UFO looking thing moving back and forth to get bonus points. It's hard to hit, but once you do, it's pretty satisfying.
Very satisfying. I got a lot of Space Invader vibes, but first-person view playing this.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I like how when you get hit, there's like this crazy static screen freak out to signify it.
Yeah. I think that was a use of the vector, the whole vector perspective of it all, because then all you have to do is put lines and shit over top, and it just kind of it makes you freak out a bit. You're like, oh shit, I'm getting hit.
Yeah. The only thing is there's a lot of turning around in the game, and not a whole lot of room to avoid enemy fire.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. What I was really surprised about is how it uses such simple technology and how effective it is. So when you're going up on the radar, you're not actually going up. Everything's just coming at you.
Yeah.
I found that interesting. So then when you turn around, everything's just flowing. It works. It's I think this is a must-have game for Atari owners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it way more than I expected.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect going into playing this game. I mean, I know what Battlezone is, but I wasn't sure how I was going to enjoy it being as primitive as it was, and this was way ahead of its time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Easy pass.
And speaking of way ahead of its time, is my second one.
Oh, yeah.
Is another Atari game called Star Raiders, which goes for about $7. Developed and published by Atari 2600, released September 1982. Now, I'm just going to go through my notes here, and then we can discuss this game, because this was a ridiculous experience for an Atari game.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I can tell.
So Doug Neubauer designed Star Raiders in about 8 to 10 months while working for Atari in an effort to make a Star Trek type action game. Then he left Atari for Hewlett Packard, of all things. So this game was almost a year in the making before it came out. To put it in perspective, games usually came out in about 6 to 8 weeks. That's how long their development time was for most Atari games. So this one had the time put into it, and it really shows.
I can tell.
This is actually a port from the Atari 8-bit in 1979. So before even the 2600 came out. Yeah. This is regarded via Stanford University's History of Science and Technology collections as one of the most important games of all time. It made their top 10 list. I believe it came in at number 2. Yeah. You must play this with the video touchpad controller, so you can switch between the maps, warps, shield, and 4-view. So I didn't know that, so I had to actually go get one. Luckily, the Retro Store had the video touchpad controller. And what is a video touchpad controller? Well, if you listen to our Intellivision episode, when we were talking about that controller with the number pad, it's essentially that for the Atari. There you go.
I didn't have that for my emulator, so I really couldn't play this. I had to watch
you missed out
videos.
on quite a lot. Well, you can actually map. You can map certain things. I actually tried hooking up my Sega Genesis controller to the second port to see if the buttons would work, and they kind of did, but I was playing a bad guessing game with it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I gotta get the video pad. What else does this game entail? Well, there's it's a simple first-person view. Of course it is. That's the theme. And you're in space, and there's a big-ass bar on the bottom with letters and numbers. And the letters on the bottom represents your quote-unquote health and energy, right? The letter E is your energy for your weapon, right? Then you have TOT, which is how many enemies are left, because your objective is to kill all the enemies via this area of space you're in. And then there's rotating letters. And this took me a while to figure out. And I actually had to look it up. I didn't figure it out. To correct what I just said. So these rotating letters occur like in the middle of all of the TOT and E. And they'll change colors based on damage you're taking, whether it's to your ship, your guns, orange and red and green, that kind of stuff. You automatically know what those represent, right? Red, bad. Green, good. The bar will also change color on the bottom. So the whole thing that all these letters are in, the bar will change color. And I had no idea what was going on there. And what they represent is, I assume this would all be in a manual, which I did not have. Some Atari games I have manual for. So yeah. So when the bar turns blue, the enemy's in front of you. When the bar turns red, that means the enemies are behind you, right? And then it'll turn orange, I believe, or green. I can't remember. I didn't write that part down. And that means the enemy is out of your range of fire. I thought was interesting. So, a lot of good tellings of what's happening on screen just by the simple use of colors and a letter. Right?
Yeah.
Did need to look it up, but for an Atari game and coming out in the early 80s, I am more forgivable.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So what do you do in this game? Well, Star Raiders, you're a ship in space, or galaxy, as I'll describe it. And what you do, and there's various difficulty levels, but the difficulty don't really need to care about it. Anyways, it's just for the sake of high score. but your objective, this actually has an ending to it, where
yeah,
yeah, more or less, where you have all these sections of space. So you use the number pad to bring up a map, and on this map it'll show you more or less this orange arrow, and that's where your enemies are. Where you are is represented by this white line, so when you bring up the map, you can then use the joystick to move this white line to that section, right? To where the enemies are, and then you go kill them. You press the warp button to go there, and then you can switch between the back view and fore view via another button on the number pad. You can bring up your shields. If you play on a higher difficulty level, I believe your shields have a finite amount of energy to it, so you have to click it on and off accordingly. So that's where even more this where your enemies are placed, the red and blue, come into play with utilizing your shield. So very deep game, very in depth, in a really interactive way to play. So, with that all said, what did you think, Colin? Because that was a lot to break down.
I had to, like I said, I had to watch YouTube videos of it, but I can tell this game was way ahead of its time. Just like there's so many different things to that you can do and keep track of in order to accomplish your goals. It's yeah, if I had all the stuff necessary to play this game, I would have been so into it, because there's just all the stuff to keep track of. You feel like a real starship captain.
Oh yeah, when I was playing this, I could totally see myself in the early 80s as a kid with a friend over, and we're like teaming up, trying to help each other destroy all the enemies in space.
Yeah.
Check the map. No, another enemy is here. Go.
Yeah.
You got 20 left. Come on, you can do it. Like, I could totally see that. Or you're playing against each other, because there is the high score option. How high could you get before you die? You're challenging your buddies, so there's also that competitive aspect to it all. I really don't know of another game even remotely like this. Other than, I want to say, we played a 3DO game a while ago where it had, I think it was in the games with sex scenes episode.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is called Star Control and Star Control 2.
Oh yeah.
That was the only game I could think of that was remotely close to this, where it's as in depth, a lot of control in space, destroying enemies, but that came out like 15 years later. Crazy to think about.
Yeah, who knew? And it has pretty good visuals too, because it really feels like you're flying through space.
Yeah,
movements of the stars and enemy ships are really smooth, and there's no frame skipping.
Yeah. Everything flows just like in Battlezone. Well, Battlezone kind of had that tick 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 to it, but that made you feel like you were in the tank.
Yeah.
While this being smooth in forward motion, with the stars actually kind of blinking in different sections, turning to make it feel like you're going through space.
Yeah.
And it being smooth made you feel like it was in space. It's so both those games did different things with a sense of movement. Not that you're actually moving, it just gave you that feel you're moving. It's pretty cool and crazy. Just looking at it from a text perspective.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with what they managed to pull off with the Atari here.
Yeah, I totally see why this is one of the more regarded games of all time.
Yeah.
And when I saw it took like 8 to 10 months of just design and how long this Neubauer worked on it, I was like, okay, this makes so much more sense, especially if you know a little bit of your history of Atari, and they would just pump out shit games in maybe a week, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know of any other game that had such a long development time, you know. And that's saying something considering that games take 4 to 10 years to develop now.
Yeah.
In these days.
Yeah. I give it an easy pass.
Easy pass, just crazy to think. All right, and now onto Kevin's pick. Why don't you go over the first one, last one?
Alrighty. First game our resident cardboard cutout gave us is Hard Driving on the Sega Genesis.
Hey. Did you pronounce the non-existent G?
Oh, Hard Driving.
Yeah, that's better. Correct you. Cool.
Yeah. It was developed by Atari and Tengen. Tengen.
Yeah.
My bad. And published by Atari Games. Released on December 1990 in Japan and worldwide in 1991. And I'm already having flashbacks of Test Drive for the PC.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's basically just a driving game, just going around a big track, just doing turns, making jumps, avoiding other cars, smashing into houses. It's a very simple game. There's really not much to it. I didn't really see any racing going on, no combat. I mean, there's a stunt track with some jumps, a loop-the-loop, and a curved turn, but that's pretty much it.
You could play this game for about 15 minutes, and you would be totally fine never playing it again.
Absolutely. That was my experience.
Yeah, so it's a game described as it's filled 3D polygonal graphics. So it's because it came out in 1990, it's very primitive to look at.
Yeah.
It came out on the Genesis. It only runs for about $3, and that's probably a good price for it because you don't get a lot of playtime. You could get a lot of playtime, but I don't see you. Once you understand that you just need to have your car leveled out when you're doing jumps and stuff, then you won't crash anymore. And I found out that there's speed limit signs on the tracks. And if you just keep your car within the speed limit, you're totally fine. You won't crash. Now, I didn't know this, but there were engine, transmission control, suspension, and tire physics modeled in conjunction to go around the stunt track or racetrack that you're on. They used a guy named Doug Milliken to do all this. I don't know who that is. I didn't bother looking it up because the game wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
It controls a bit slow. Controls are pretty sluggish overall. I guess it's solid enough to play and still enjoy to an extent. But I had one real big problem, and that was you could be going up a loop-de-loop or jumping off a ramp, and then a car's just right there in your way, and you crash into it.
Yeah.
No idea that it's there, no chance to avoid. Game over, right? Cheap shit.
Mm-hmm.
Hate that in games. I really do.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I will say, though, the instant replay of your crashes, pretty sweet. That was the highlight of the game.
I was going to say that, too. You just didn't see that a lot in late 80s, early 90s games. So it was kind of nifty.
Not at all. Not at all. Max Payne in its slow motion mode, that I don't really know of any game in between Hard Driving here and Max Payne. I'm sure they exist, or I have played them. I just can't think of it right now, but Max Payne sticks out.
I think maybe the Burnout games did it.
Max Payne was before Burnout, though.
Ah, yeah, fair enough.
Pretty sure. Could be wrong. But yeah, Burnout's another great example of replay crashes and stuff. Yeah, that was very interesting that they put in the game. That's its whole appeal, the replay crash.
Yeah.
But it's this funky little rectangle, as they called it, filled 3D graphics. So it just looked funky. It was kind of funny.
Ah, yeah.
Not much I don't have much else to say over this game. There's just not much to it other than it's a first-person car game that you crash a lot.
Yeah, and plus every time you steer, you always hear tires squealing, which can get pretty annoying.
Yeah, I definitely had the volume low.
And no, was there any background music? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I don't think so. I think it was just the tires, and you're just listening to the engine of the car. Yeah,
and it's pretty much all one long whine once you get up to a certain speed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a compression of an arcade game from 1989, but it really doesn't look that much different.
I wonder how the arcade game would play out when you have, because because the physics of everything was put into the car that you're driving.
Yeah.
I wonder if that steering wheel on the arcade would fight you. There are some car games that I've played in the arcade that do that when there's a lot of physics put into it. Yeah,
that would be pretty neat for the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, this gets a fail from me.
Yeah, kind of a fail, isn't it? So we've passed 2, 3, and we failed 2. Will the last game make it 500, or will we go 4 for 6? So Kevin's last pick, our last game of the cast, is a little game called Jumping Flash. And people may have heard about this game now, because it came out on the PlayStation Mini.
Yeah.
And people are like, what's this game? Well, it is came out on the PlayStation. Goes for about $17, and you're like, whoa, that seems a bit high. Reason for it. It was developed by Exact Ultra in the US. Ultra did a lot of Konami US titles.
Oh, yeah.
This was published by Sony Computer Entertainment. Released mid to late 1995, depending where you were. And it's widely considered the first true first-person platform game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's got a little story, too. Robot, a robotic rabbit, can freely move. You can freely move Robot in 3-dimensional space and rotate the camera in any direction. Really nice. Plot is damn similar to Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
First PS2 one, where it's an evil guy taking pieces of lands to make his own super land kind of deal. Game has 6 worlds with 3 levels in each, and each ending in a boss fight. Cool concept, very simple formula.
Yeah.
Every level also has a 10-minute time limit to complete, which really gets you sweating at certain points.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin brought this up, because I hadn't played this game yet, but he was playing this, I believe, on his own little time. It has a unique and frustrating save system in place. And I had to look up what this was. So, you have to beat 3 levels consecutively to save. If you don't run out of lives, or you keep extending the time limit, if you don't beat 3 levels consecutively, an arcade mode, as it was called online, kind of kicks in, and it puts you back X amount of levels, right? From your last play session of save, or back to start.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
So, let's say you play 5 levels, right? You hadn't saved yet. If you die on level 6, you won't go back to level 3 or level 4. You'll go back to start because you hadn't saved yet. You hadn't ended your play session. very strange, very weird.
Yeah, just that seems unnecessary.
So when you figure that out, the best advice I can give is play 3 levels and then shut the game off and start it up again. Right?
Yeah.
Every time. That's the only way you will maintain your sanity, because then imagine if you get to like level 7 in a single play session and then you die, go back to start. Fuck that.
Yeah, really.
And I believe that's what happened to Kevin. Like he played 3 levels and then he started a new session. He got like 5 levels further, but because he hadn't ended his play session after beating 3 levels, I believe his save was either back to start or he went back to level 3 after all that work.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Pretty wild. So yeah, the save system was definitely fixed in the sequel, to say the least. So we know how to save now. How is the game itself? Well, Colin, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, I didn't manage to find a copy of this game myself. So I just watched YouTube videos. But from what I saw,
That's
it
what
looked pretty
emulation is for, buddy.
Well, I don't have a PlayStation emulator just yet.
I'll work on
But yeah, it's definitely a very unique game. I mean, big robot rabbit just bouncing around collecting jet pods that are shaped like carrots, incidentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got some pretty good graphics for the time. I mean, the visuals even have a bit of a Japanese flair to them.
Yep. I agree with you so far.
And I like that it has secondary weapons that are fireworks. It's got like the little swirly one that'll spray sparks everywhere, for example. And the Egypt theme, I found the music to be pretty catchy in a lot of the levels. And even the Egypt themed level, its music sounds an awful lot like the It's a Small World After All theme.
Oh, I'm gonna have to replay that level then. Didn't notice that.
Yeah, I found that bouncing bear head in the HUD to be kind of distracting. I mean, sometimes it even blocks certain things from view.
Sure.
Yeah, all the jumping and landing, I feel like it would be pretty unbearable for someone who has motion sickness problems. Just you constantly looking down to see if you're landing properly.
Yeah, luckily the game has a shadow underneath you to see where you're gonna land. Very critical thing to put in the game.
Yeah. I was having a few Doom 2016 flashbacks because some of the platforming in that game is reminiscent of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It feels like a game that was supposed to be a third-person perspective game, but later got changed to a first-person.
Maybe.
Maybe it's just the platforming.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, I really enjoyed this game. I love platform games, and this is definitely a game I wish I had when I was younger. I would have loved the hell out of this, and I do love it. I love this game. It is the music is very addicting. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've had that intro song stuck in my head for like 3 days. I tried playing it, but I just played 2 sessions. I played 6 levels, and then I tried. I got 2 boss fights, and then I tried playing again. I died, and then I went back to where I was, and I was like, shit, well, I gotta play other games now. Kind of deal. But I really like the boss battles. Really gets you to utilize the whole jumping mechanics and where to go on a level. I thought the kind of gave me this open world perspective of where you're going, which I was surprised about. I thought it'd be a linear experience. At least a more linear experience than what it led on to be.
Oh, yeah.
and I thought it was very intuitive, like what you needed to do, what you needed to find. It got a little repetitive, just because it felt like you're just doing the same thing over and over again without much adding to it. However, the levels themselves were unique enough and offered enough challenge that that's what kept me in.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with Jumping Flash. You know, I'm definitely gonna add this to my collection as well. So that's 2 more PlayStation games in my book, just on this cast. So
Nice.
yeah. I'm very, you know, looking back when we were talking about what games were gonna be in the PlayStation Mini, and a lot of people, I remember, you know, why is this game on there, right? Why is this game in it? And now I totally understand why. It's so unique. I think, you know, barring anybody who suffers from motion sickness, I think this game vastly deserved to be in the PlayStation Mini because of how different it is and how playable it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm passing Jumping Flash. Very surprising. I was very surprised. I think this is definitely going in. This game is a great example of a hidden gem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I give it a pass, too.
Yeah. I don't like using the hidden gem term very often, but especially considering how not known this game is to a wide variety of gamers. Yeah. So I recommend Jumping Flash. I'm not. I don't think Kevin would recommend it because of the whole save situation.
Yeah.
I'm overlooking a glaring flaw. So I'm very curious to see how the sequel did now that that whole aspect is changed and improved upon. So hell yeah, I want to see more Rubbit. Sounds like a Ribbit Rabbit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get it. It's a robot rabbit. Finding simple enough. So our 6 games were The Mansion of Hidden Souls on the Sega CD and Saturn, Descent on the PlayStation, Battlezone on the Atari 2600, Star Raiders on the Atari 2600, Hard Driving on the Sega Genesis, and Jumping Flash on the PlayStation. Colin, your favorite and least favorite game?
Favorite by far, Descent. Just holds up really well. Still love it. Looking forward to seeing how Overload turns out. And least favorite, Hard Driving. Just very boring. It's not interesting at all, which is not what a driving game should be.
Driving game, you should enjoy driving. I agree.
Absolutely.
So my favorite was very tough this time because I had a blast with 4 out of 6 games. So I had to really think, like, what game did I play the most and wanted to go back and play more of? And I'm going to have to say Star Raiders on the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
With Jumping Flash being damn close. If it wasn't for that save aspect, that's where I'm dinging it. It doesn't get the number 1 place on this cast for me was because of the save feature. So, Star Raiders, very influential, very deep. Came out in 1982 with so much to the game. I can't overlook that. And then my least favorite is actually going to be Mansion of Hidden Souls. I'm sorry, The Mansion of Hidden Souls. Because at least with Hard Driving, I got a good 15-20 minutes of some sort of enjoyment and figuring it out. The Mansion of Hidden Souls was like I was taking NyQuil in real time. And I hated the look at it. So that gets the fail. Yeah. All right. So with that, the next theme pick is mine, so I got to get cracking on that. And I'm going to... Colin, thank you for joining us. Joining me.
No problem.
Me, myself, I. With that, I'm going to play the nice little outro music of Jumping Flash theme, because it's so stuck in my head.
Oh, and before we go, folks, I finally got myself a Twitter account.
Oh, yeah, you do have a Twitter account. I almost forgot. You explicitly told me not to forget.
But yeah, my handle is @mogjam23. The reason for that name is I was picking up a subscription to audible.com to get some audiobooks to listen to on the way to work because I have a long commute.
Mm-hmm.
And the first ones I wanted to get were the books that Yahtzee Croshaw himself wrote. That is the guy who does Zero Punctuation. He has written 4 books, and the first 2 books were Mogworld and Jam.
Logjam, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, plus it's a pun with Logjam, so there you go.
There you go. All right, and with that, cue that outro music.
Bye.